Boker Tov, good morning on this glorious summer day in Boston. It's an old anecdote about the rabbi who comes up to heaven. He passes away, and he's waiting to hear his verdict, and God's looking and checking. And while he's there's an Egged bus driver. You know, Egged is the name of the bus company, the Israel bus company that takes the buses from place to place, like the city bus, state bus. And the Egged bus driver, God looks at him and says, okay, you can go straight to heaven. And the rabbi says, I don't understand. This guy, all he did was drive a bus. And you say he goes straight to heaven. Me, I was a rabbi, and you're questioning if I should go to heaven. And God looks at me and says, let me explain you something. When you spoke and gave your sermons, you put everyone to sleep. This Egged bus driver, when he drove people, the way he drove, he made everyone pray. So therefore he's going to heaven. It's an old anecdote. But I want to connect it to this week's parsha and a story that I heard this week. You know, the opening words of this week's Torah portion are very famous. God says, see, I put in front of you today a blessing and a curse. As a bracha, the blessing, if you listen to God. And the curse is if you don't follow God's ways. And the question many commentaries ask is that it should have said it a little different. It says the blessing is if you listen to God, or the curse is haklala if you don't listen to God. But instead, he says ve'es haklala, the blessing and the curse. Isn't it either or? Why both? So I heard this beautiful story this past week, and I think it connects well. Every Saturday night, especially in the summer after Shabbos, there's a bus 400 that goes from Bnei Brak to Yerushalayim. A lot of people want to go spend the Shabbos in Bnei Brak. They don't have cars. Families go, and then they come back, and after Shabbos, an hour after Shabbos, the bus leaves from Bnei Brak to Yerushalayim. So it was one Shabbos, and there's a bunch of people waiting for the 400 bus. It's supposed to come about 9:30, and they're waiting 9:45, 10 o'clock, 10:15, 10:30, and they're frustrated. It's packed. All these mothers and fathers with little babies. It's crazy. Finally, at 10:30, they see a bus showing up. But instead of the bus being the 400 bus that goes to Yerushalayim, it's the bus number 12 that goes to the Chovot. The guy stops, his bus is empty, there's not one person on, and one person comes on the bus. The people start pleading with the bus driver. They say, listen, I don't understand. It's one guy. We'll pay for his Uber, his taxi, but look how many people are waiting to get to Jerusalem. This baby's crying. Could you please take the bus to Yerushalayim instead of taking the bus to the Chovot? The guy says, I can't do it. I could lose my job. I'm supposed to go to the Chovot. On, back and forth. Finally, he realizes, says, you know what, no problem. They get the guy onto a taxi. He agrees to go, and everyone piles out to the bus. The bus is packed. Mothers, fathers, babies, little children, big children, they all get seated. And as the bus starts to trek, one of the guys gets up to the bus driver and says, you know, you're such a mensch. You really impressed me. You know, you could even lose your job. But yet, you decided to take us to Jerusalem because you saw so many people waiting and little children, and you had compassion. We were so touched by you. And the bus driver turns to him and says, you know, I'll tell you the truth. After Shabbos, I came to my bus, and I tried to start my bus, and the bus wasn't starting. It was giving me difficulties. I had to call the mechanic. By the time I was done, it was a whole hour. I started heading out to the bus stop, and I saw so many people waiting. I figured, I'm going to come, and everyone's going to be angry at me. They're going to be screaming at me. So what did I do? I changed it from bus 400 going to Jerusalem to bus 12 going to Rehovot. And I figured, like this, the people will come. They'll beg me to go to Jerusalem instead of Rehovot. I'll say okay. And then they'll get onto the bus. And instead of having a packed bus with angry passengers, I'll have a full bus with happy passengers who will be so grateful. And that's what happened. And it's actually a powerful lesson. Because what the Torah is telling you is, God says, I'm giving you the blessing and the curse. Because sometimes the difference between the blessing and the curse is just an attitude and a perspective. It's how you view things. Some people could view the same thing as a blessing and the same thing as a curse. So God says, look, I'm putting the blessing and the curse in front of you. How you view it, that's going to be up to your perspective. Do you see the glass half full? Do you see the glass half empty? Have an awesome beginning to your week, and may we always see things in a positive light and a good perspective.